not going to be in WWF. It's not going to be in WWF anytime soon. Regarding the pop for Buff last night, to me that pop was a bunch of teenage girls squealing for Buff. It was not the fans cheering for him to come on the show. Everyone I've talked to is like, did you hear the pop Buff got? And it really worried me. I hope that Vince can tell the difference between the pop Goldberg got and a bunch of teenage girl boy band squeals that Buff got. Okay, let's go to Terry. Terry, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, Dave. Yes, you know if they will sign Ernest Miller and did they change their mind on Scott Steiner situation?
Well, put it this way. Those type of meetings, I mean, they're not even going to be talking about this stuff until probably Wednesday when they get back from Detroit at the earliest. I mean, today, there may be some people going like, you get the reaction, Vince, what do you think? But as far as they got to do SmackDown tonight, so they're not, this is not a subject of major concern today.
Mm-hmm.
So
especially with 8 weeks or whatever till they start TV.
Yeah. And there's the question of, obviously Steiner, from what we gather, wants to be part of it. So it wouldn't surprise me that they give him a shot. But, he'll know, and he will know. It's a zero-tolerance thing. First time he screws up, he's going to be gone.
Yeah, those are what you think of Ernest Miller.
I think Ernest Miller's going to be teaching karate.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. And I hope they get rid of Jimmy Hart as the music producer, too, and they Jim Johnston take over.
Jimmy Hart's going to be feuding with Jerry Lawler on Memphis TV. That's what I'm figuring.
Oh, just keep him off of WCW TV, please.
Yeah, I think it's time for that, actually, on that show. I really do. I'm not trying to be funny. I think Jimmy Hart bringing in, Rob Van Dam and Hulk Hogan and Lex Luger to Memphis, to the Mid-South Coliseum every week against Jerry Lawler.
Why not?
Hey, that's not the worst idea in the world. Except that they probably don't want to book the Coliseum.
Oh, okay.
Anything else, Terry?
Hogan probably won about 752.
Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah. Why he leave the WWF in the first place?
What?
Okay, what happened between the WWF and Jimmy? His contract was up?
Jimmy Hart? He just stayed loyal to Hogan. So when Hogan left, Jimmy left. That's all. And
that's what happened.
Yeah, he was personal manager of Hogan by that point, and Hogan quit, so Jimmy quit with him.
Okay, yeah. Wasn't he helping Jim Johnston out with the music, too, before he left?
What'd you say?
Yeah, they were working together. Jim Johnston and Jimmy Hart.
Oh, originally, yeah, before Jimmy Hart left. The music got better after Jimmy Hart left,
Mm-hmm. So who's doing the music? What songs did they produce together, actually?
I don't know.
I think they did all the early albums together, like Pile Driver, the wrestling album, and all those.
Okay. So you think they did Diesel and Razor Ramon entrance, too?
May have.
Probably anything before Jimmy Hart left.
Yeah, and those guys were before Jimmy Hart left.
Yeah, so.
Okay, yeah. Cause I really do believe Goldberg would be strong.
Actually, I'm not sure. Wait. I'm trying to remember when Nash came in. The timing.
93.
Okay, and Hogan left in 93. Hogan left August of 93.
And Jimmy Hart, I think he went right along with him, too, at that time also.
Yeah. No, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, Macho Man left like a year later.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, let's see. Do y'all know if they're gonna let's see who they might take? Arn Anderson?
Maybe. Wouldn't be surprised. I'd like to see him as a manager. He said that for 10 years. But maybe these guys will figure it out.
Hopefully they can upgrade on the Pyros, because they say WWF had influence on the entrance Pyros last night too. That's what they're saying.
Pyro?
Maybe. Yeah. I'm sure they'll have more Pyro. I'm sure they will.
Because the Pyro, you can't even hardly hear it.
Yeah. Well, that's because they were cutting back on budget, and that's the first place you cut back on is the unnecessary stuff. And Pyro is, I don't know. It's obviously not as important as breaking, smashing up a car every week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because WWF Pyro seems like it's kind of more explosive, but in WCW, even when they're successful, most of the Pyro was kind of quiet.
I don't remember. I remember WCW's Pyro was pretty loud too, but the SmackDown Pyro live is pretty loud.
Deafening.
Yeah. Okay, Terry, we're gonna get running. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let's go to Ryan. Ryan, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey.
I was just wondering what you thought about HBK's involvement at WrestleMania, like if he's going to be in the main event or a referee or something like that.
Whatever he's going to do, they're shooting it tonight. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't be the main event. Hopefully he'll be involved in some other match, but I don't know what it'll be. It might be Hunter and Undertaker in some form, maybe.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know.
Also, what do you think about like Shane McMahon forming the WCW stable coming?
I don't think it's going to happen.
Nah.
As far as bringing WCW guys over, not yet.
Yeah.
It won't happen right away,
maybe too much down the road, or
someday it has to happen.
Yeah. All right.
All right?
Yep, thanks.
Okay, let's go to Jesse. Jesse in Iowa, what's up?
Guys,
Hey.
my
Jesse.
question first deals with Chris Jericho, and I know you guys have touched on this a little bit recently. And while I don't really see it happening, anytime in the near future, I was wondering about your thoughts of maybe him eventually moving back to WCW and maybe even getting a world title run. The way I see it is, I think he's kind of hit a ceiling in the WWF. I don't see them putting him over The Rock in Austin anytime soon. And I got to argue that he's one of the top 3 or 4 fan favorites in the industry today, especially WWF. And like I said, I just don't see that there's much more that they can do with him in the Intercontinental title.
It's a possibility. I would rather see someone who is more established, like Undertaker or Helmsley, move to WCW to clear the path for forcing them to main event Jericho in WWF.
Mm-hmm.
That way, now if Jericho fails, then you could say, well, we gave him a shot and he failed. But if you move him to WCW, it will still be seen as a lesser thing, and he still didn't make it to the top. You know how I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I would do as an experiment, and knowing that experiment may not work, because I don't want to go in there and say stick my neck out and go, look at this, because then everyone's going to go, you know what though, Jericho doesn't have this and Jericho doesn't have that, and it may fail, and you just go, okay, that's what an experiment is, and if it does fail, we just go, okay, it didn't work, and we'll bring them back and do whatever we need to do. But you got to give them the chance, and also a lot of guys, the first time they're on top, they do fail, but then fans start thinking of them as top guys, and the second time they're on top, the people, you know what I mean? They do a lot better.
Yeah,
Not like Sid,
like
but yeah, hopefully. Well, Angle will because of that.
What about, I know his career's been kind of put on ice as of late in the WWF, and there was talk of him moving to WCW before. But I was wondering if with the new WCW, do you see anything in store for D'Lo Brown over there?
Who knows? I don't think that anyone's even discussed it at this point. That's like, they haven't even figured out what to do with Booker T or with, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
totally.
D'Lo Brown, I don't even think D'Lo Brown's on anyone's thoughts right now. I mean, obviously he's not because we never see him anymore.
Too bad. I think he does. I think he has a good future if he's given the chance, but that's just my take.
He's a good worker. He just, I don't know. It's just like the numbers game. He just kind of disappeared.
And,
you know what I hope doesn't end up happening? I was just thinking of this as far as sending guys over. I hope they don't do something where, we're talking about moving someone out of the top spot so Jericho can move up. So just an example, maybe send Rock over there, and I just worry that, like, if they sent Rock over, the ratings, if they started to fall, instead of bringing somebody else up to try and replace it, they just panic and bring him back.
They would. Guaranteed.
That's bad news.
Yeah. Because that's the nature of the beast of television right now is that they would. Were you surprised that the ratings didn't go up for Raw at all? Because I was.
I don't know. They really... I think just part of it is the fact that they split that segment, the simulcast.
Yeah, but taking that out, the Raw's second hour wasn't good.
Yeah.
And Raw's main event was a 5-1, which is, one of their lower main events of the year. On a night that should have been like the hottest night of, by all rights, last night should have been the biggest night of wrestling viewership of the year and one of the hottest nights of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And for, that Raw second hour to do a 5-1 and the main event to do a 5-1, that's no great shakes.
I would look at more next week's because there wasn't really a whole lot of publicity out that this was going to happen.
Well, next week's going to be up because there's no Nitro.
Yeah, but I always look at it as, how are fans that haven't been watching the show regularly supposed to know that this is happening unless their friends are just calling them and demanding to turn the TV on? If I had a friend that
but here's the one thing though. The one thing on last night though is everyone who watched Nitro got plugged to watch Raw to continue the story, and they didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, because okay, the first hour of Raw, yeah, you could say that, but you've got that whole Nitro audience, and Nitro closed with a 3.5, which is the most they've closed with all year. I mean, they had a big audience there, and you're telling them, okay, this story is going to continue on TNN, and they didn't, and a lot of them, most of them, as a matter of fact, did not switch to TNN. They just turned off their TV. That's not a good sign that they just turned off their TV and said, oh, well, our product's done. I mean, because isn't the ones who didn't switch over, what would be their what would they say?
I think it's just, I mean, it may not be, but I think a lot of it might be the fact that the fans that were left were hardcore WCW fans. They just loved it. And they're not interested in seeing the WWF product.
Well,
I mean, maybe if they, if they start another company and Vince may own it, but all the guys they love watching are on there, maybe it'll do okay.
I want to ask you one other thing also. One thing I thought was real interesting was when Angle was doing the promo and everything with Benoit. You know that they're the same height?
Yeah.
Yeah. Angle's really short.
I only thought Angle was like 5'10", and Benoit 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, they look exactly the same. Benoit's 5'8.5", so that means Angle's probably 5'8.5" too.
Huh.
I thought Angle was a little taller than that also. And then Rhino was shorter than, although he was hunched over. But remember when actually that was pretty cool when they introduced Rhino to Benoit. I mean to Angle. What am I saying?
He didn't say who is that. He goes, what is that?
Yeah, that was funny.
What is that?
Yeah. Let's go to Vince. Vince, what's up?
Good.
Vince.
Hey. How you guys doing?
Hey.
I have two questions here. The first one is, say if WCW's ratings go up on TNN, do you think they would possibly consider moving it up in the time slot?
Yes, no doubt.
Okay. And the second one, I got a chance today to listen to the Mad Dog thing with Vince McMahon and Phil Mushnick. What does Phil have against Vince?
I think he pretty much made it clear at the very beginning.
Really?
Well, I mean, Phil Mushnick, wrote the story about, the homosexual pedophilia and all that stuff that was going on. And they settled the lawsuit, and then he sued Vince McMahon sued Phil Mushnick over a story that's probably true. That I believe is true. Tom Cole, was the main source, and I happen to believe Tom Cole. So I guess that's not really where it starts, but because Mushnick started writing about it during the Zahorian trial, and actually where Mushnick got real mad at them was the Zahorian trial was basically about the doctor who distributed steroids and painkillers to WWF wrestlers, and then when the trial was over, Basil DeVito of the WWF released this press release saying that this trial has absolutely nothing to do with us, and he was just saying like, wait a minute, he's in jail for distributing steroids and pain pills to your wrestlers. How does that have nothing to do with you? So that's where it all started.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll be back right after this.
Supported and funded by the IATA Media Group. Abused by everyone else. This is IATA.com.
Okay, so they call this stuff ecstasy? Interesting. Have you heard about nausea, paranoia? How about the terrible Tuesdays? See, here's the thing about ecstasy. After spending a whole night partying, you can crash, and some serious depression can set in. Suddenly, life without X doesn't seem so great. So you do it again and again and again, and the more you do it, the more you want it. And then you can't figure out how to enjoy life without it. Doesn't sound like ecstasy at all. But hey, the choice is yours. Just don't say I didn't warn you.
Sponsored by ONDCP in partnership for a drug-free America.
If you want interviews with wrestling's hottest stars, behind-the-scenes news, and the most complete wrestling package on the World Wide Web, then you want The Law. www.liveaudiowrestling.com. No holds barred wrestling radio with Jeff Merrick and Dan the Mouth Lavransky. www.liveaudiowrestling.com. Plus uncut, unedited interviews with wrestling superstars, the web's most complete wrestling news board, and the Wrestling Observer Extra with Dave Meltzer. It's all at www.liveaudiowrestling.com. Check it out today.
Are you losing your hair? Is that bald spot getting bigger? Has your hair been looking thinner? Here's Dr. Gordon, Medical Director at the Hair and Skin Treatment Center in New York with some exciting news.
What makes people lose their hair is a bad body chemical called dihydrotestosterone, commonly known as DHT. At our center, we have developed Avacor, an all-natural herbal treatment that stops DHT from attacking your hair follicle. You start regrowing new hair in the balding areas, guaranteed. In 5 years of clinical testing, Avocor shows a 90% success rate in both men and women. Avocor is all natural and completely safe and effective.
Stop your hair loss and start regrowing a full, healthy head of hair today. Call 800-790-6695. See how this remarkable, risk-free treatment can help you regrow your hair. Call 800-790-6695. That's 800-790-6695.
Call us toll free. 1-877-EYATA-99.
1-877-EYATA-99. Okay, I want to remind everyone one more time that Sunday we're going to be live from midnight to 1 a.m. right after WrestleMania. A special edition of Wrestling Observer Live covering WrestleMania, so you can join us here at IATA.com. Me and Brian will be taking your emails as well as your phone calls Sunday night. So it's a big week with Lawler tomorrow, Brock Lesnar, Max Payne, WrestleMania. Boy, big week. This is from Mike, who goes, why couldn't a new promotion start up using syndicated television instead of trying to get on a cable network? Granted, it would be difficult, but ECW survived for a while just on syndication. And if a startup company with some decent money behind it could probably turn a profit having shows just on syndication. Everyone that's tried has failed miserably, and that's the answer. I mean, WoW went through $3 million in 3 months trying to do it that way. The thing is you really can't build something because I don't think you can build something off of syndicated TV anymore because it costs too much to get on.
And I mean, look at the $3 million they lost in 3 months with the time slot that they had.
Yeah,
that was $3 million for a midnight time slot through most of the country. If you want like prime time syndicated TV, so expensive.
Well, you can't even buy it because that's when they program their good shows.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, except in like a small market. I mean, it's just the whole thing, as we talked about this many times today. There's a huge entry level barrier in this business right now, and that's television. If you cannot get television on a cable station and nobody wants it, which means you can't get it, you can't compete. And that's all there is to it. And even if you had it, as WCW had and as ECW had, neither of those groups had been able to make money with that in the last. Well, ECW never made money, and WCW hasn't made money since '98. Mm-hmm. So, even with that, and with the talent, and with Paul Heyman, who is a genius at creative, they couldn't make money. And with, all the financial resources of Turner, even with the idiots that ran the company into the ground, they hadn't made money in 3 years. Let's see. Wouldn't Bill Goldberg versus Triple H or Steiner versus Stone Cold draw more money than Mike Tyson at WrestleMania? I don't know.
They'd have to be built up. Right now, I don't think so.
Yeah, if it's built up, I think that Austin and Goldberg built up for about 4 to 6 months. Could. He paid $3 million for one match for Mike Tyson, so he could pay Goldberg that or equal that. You know what? It's a good point. I want to tell you something. You're right, but he won't do it because it will upset the salary structure. He could pay Mike Tyson $3.5 million, and everybody got upset. But the bottom line is that Mike Tyson is an outside celebrity, so the wrestlers don't compare nobody in wrestling, in their wildest delusions, not Austin, not The Rock, not anyone, knows that they are the pay-per-view draw that Mike Tyson was then, okay? I mean, not so much now, but then. Mike Tyson was the king of pay-per-view. And Mike Tyson was a huge celebrity and all of what he brought to the table, and that thing was a big, big success. Now, to give that to a wrestler, all of a sudden, if they were to give that to Bill Goldberg, maybe Bill Goldberg would be worth $3 million for one day. And he may very well, done right, could be. But then what will Hunter and Undertaker and Kurt Angle and all those guys who are sitting there not making anywhere near that kind of money, who will go, I've been with you through thick and thin, I've been out on the road 200 days a year, and you give this guy this much money for one shot, and we're working 200 days and we're not making that? That's the problem that you do if you pay Goldberg what he is worth for that match. And that's the whole, it's a game.
It's not going to come down to Vince, though, because if he wants to do it, he's going to do it. I mean, when Lawler's on tomorrow, just ask him what it means to be through thick and thin with Vince McMahon. Nothing.
No, that's right. If Vince still wants to do it, yeah, he'll do it. But morale in the locker room is something that they really are careful about, because one of the reasons the WWF came back so big from a few years ago was because they had such a cohesive locker room, and one of the reasons WCW self-destructed was because they had a bunch of prima donnas.
Yeah.
Let's go to Chris in Toronto. Chris, what's going on?
How you doing?
Doing really good.
Good. I just wanted to make a couple points and ask a couple questions here. First thing, Scott Steiner last night, I thought that was really professional of him to even, he didn't even have to show up. And then he jobs to Booker T.
Well, he really needed to show up. It was he really needed to show up, and he really needed to drop the title. But you're right. He was totally professional.
Yeah. The second thing, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but TNN showed Raw in Canada last night live. I know.
Really?
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
Which I thought was really odd because the only one that they showed on TNN in Canada was the first Raw on TNN.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's up with that. WCW, WWF video games. What do you think is going to go on with that?
I don't know. I think that they'll try to do separate licensing for now to keep the brands different.
Yeah. And the fourth thing actually is someone had called in and mentioned maybe bringing the WWF title over to WCW. Now, by them doing that, wouldn't that give some credibility back to the Intercontinental title?
If they made the Intercontinental title the main event on 3 or 4 straight pay-per-views, it would bring tremendous credibility to it.
But they would have to start building that title up for months before the world title left.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, the thing on that is
left
that
and they started pushing the Intercontinental title to mean nothing.
That's a gutsy move. I don't know that I see them giving up their world title for 3 or 4 pay-per-views. I think that will be the prevailing thing of if someone were to suggest, hey, why don't we do this and have Booker T, I'm throwing out a name, have Booker T come and win our world title because it really helps that side. And, this other side's doing well. I think that the thing is, yeah, but we got 4 pay-per-views, and if we're not going to do interpromotional and we're not going to have Booker T on our pay-per-views, I think that will be where the argument is.
At that point,
again, Vince can do anything he wants. He's got all the cards.
And then, lead up to maybe a WrestleMania Intercontinental title WWF versus WWF title WCW.
It could be done. They could certainly do it. But they wouldn't surprise me. They can do anything they want.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe if you could just find out a little bit more about that TNN thing, because that's kind of odd.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
Okay. Let's see. Do you think Ray Jr. being put over last night was a concession on the part of the McMahon family? No, that was planned all along. That was planned a week ago. When they didn't win the belts at the pay-per-view, the idea was they were going to win them on the Nitro. So that was, nothing has anything to do with anything on that. I mean, they were, the WWF people were not that concerned over the titles other than, because Booker T was going to win that title no matter, whether Eric Bischoff was running the show or whatever. That was just the plan for that night.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Chris in Long Island. Chris, what's going on?
Hi, how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
On the Goldberg thing that you were just talking about, as far as everybody being a prima donna, if Hunter were to get mad and Rock were to get mad that he got all that money, the only difference now, as opposed to if WCW existed with other owners, is that since, like you said, Vince has all the cards, there's almost no room to be a prima donna anymore. You kind of even if that's how you really feel, you can't even show that in the locker room anymore because, those wrestlers can't pull that leverage game anymore and say, well, I'm pissed that they brought in Goldberg for $3 million. Meanwhile, it made the company a lot of money, and in turn, couldn't it actually even make those guys a lot of money because those would be the guys working with them?
They won't take it that way.
They won't. But they can't. But what I'm saying is, even if they won't take it that way,
I know. Yeah, I know what you're saying, that they cannot afford to be prima donnas and they can't afford to be bad guys and all that. But people can still get. You can't stop people from being in bad moods.
Yeah,
and I think that. Yeah, you can stop them from going I'm not going to do a job because then you just fire them.
Right.
But if a couple of people start having bad, if people start thinking like that, and that stuff can get contagious real quick. Years ago, the WWF locker room was a disaster. Not that many years ago.
Do you think well, with the way things are kind of structured now, do you think it'll be I know this is probably too idealistic, but that the guys will get to the point where they realize they got to be happy that they just even have a job because of the way things are set up, that at the blink of an eye now.
Yeah, but you know what? If people think that, they get really scared. And that's not a good locker room either. You want some job security. You don't want enough job security where people think they can be lazy. They know they have to work for their money. But you don't want this thing where every single day they're worried they're going to get fired from their job for any little mistake, because then if you have that, that's not a good locker room either.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess I don't know. Like I said, I guess it was just an idealistic kind of a thing. But I mean,
you don't want a situation where everyone backstage is in that mood, because it's not like Vince McMahon could go back there and just say, "Everybody cheer up, or you're all fired."
Yeah, no, I guess yeah. But as far as like that whole thing he did last night with the thumbs up, thumbs down, I mean, was he just doing that just because? I mean, was that just an actual test? Was he like, let me see?
I don't know.
Because I mean, it was kind of weird because I think it like.
I thought he was expecting them all to be booed, and those were the guys he was going to fire.
Well, yeah, I guess that was probably part of it. I mean, well, definitely like Luger and Bagwell and those type of guys. And I couldn't believe, I got so mad when Bagwell got the girls just cheer. You just wanted to slap everybody in the crowd. It was like, well, not everybody.
But why would they know? They don't know that Bagwell, laid down in a minute on that.
Oh, no, I know. I'm not saying like,
you know what I mean? It's like,
better,
you can't, it's like people expect.
Dude with a big hat that dances. They go,
he's kind of entertaining. He's kind of entertaining,
yeah.
So I mean, that's what they're reacting to.
I don't mean like they should know any better or that certain ones did, but it's just knowing how he is. It's just like, you know what I mean? You just wish you could.
Yeah, I know. It was like that night when Rikishi mentioned Hogan's name and they got the big pop on that Raw.
Yeah,
and I was going like, oh God, like what is this? Does that mean that they're going to now bring this guy in? And they almost did too.
Yeah, well, that's why. But also too, like, guys like Booker T, they just got. I think the crowd was confused because, even like by the end of the whole angle with Shane and everything, it's like, like you said, it looks like they're trying to position WCW to be the baby face on this whole thing. But then does that in turn, is Vince just a heel, or is it supposed to be like all the WWF wrestlers are heels? You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Confusing. It was the first week. They got to work out all the kinks.
Yeah, they have to make it more decisive because it's to the point where it's like, I don't see Vince making he'll make himself the heel and certain aspects of his company the heel, but I don't see him keeping his whole thing as the heel, because even if it boosts WCW and WCW becomes this hot thing again and people watch the WCW shows that they put out or whatever and cheer for them, he's never going to let it surpass the WWF name.
Right.
No matter what.
The WWF name is much bigger worldwide and it's a much more valuable name,
right.
So you don't want to kill it off. But the thing is, you don't want to make the WWF name heel. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's why I was confused.
But he does want to make WCW. WCW needs help in being babyface because the previous management had had portrayed WCW as uncool, unhip, incompetent,
fool,
stupid. For year after year after year, and they need to do something. WWF doesn't need that help.
Yeah,
but WWF can't be a heel. It's like WWF can't be a heel, but WCW has to be given some help to be a babyface now.
Yeah, because it's basically like, since originally the NWO idea was that the NWO was representing the WWF, like you said, they made the NWO the cool group to cheer for, and they always won anyway, most of the time.
Well, they always won. It's like they became cool because they got stuff done, and the other guys were incompetent and,
right. They did what they want, and they ran out, and they spray painted everybody, and they just ran, 10 guys.
Roughshod. There was 4 of them and 60 of the other guys, and somehow the 60 of the other guys always got beat up.
Exactly, that's what I mean. That's why WWF can't afford to make WWF now the WCW guys that always get kind of bitched around or whatever you want to call it, and WCW comes in like this, the greatest thing since sliced bread, and everybody's cheering for them and Shane. That's why I'm just kind of curious to see how they're going to do it, where it's positioned where Vince just stays as the heel. And because then it's almost like anybody, because you would assume, like, say they had a guy like Mick Foley go and work for the WCW side, that would almost make him a heel, and you know what I mean. But now the way they're positioning it, he would stay the face, and doesn't mean Rock and Austin and everybody that's on the top of the WWE. That's why I was confused, but I was entertained by it all. But then I was just sitting there like, what are they going to do with this? Like, what's the plan? And how do they structure it?
Well, realistically, they don't know. They're winging it too.
Then that's then that's where
momentum's going to, half of this is going to be where momentum takes it anyway. So no one knows long term. Like, next year's WrestleMania, maybe it'll be all interpromotional matches. Maybe this thing will die long before WrestleMania. So who knows?
Okay. Let me see what else I was going to say. The Benoit Angle thing, I actually just kind of got lost in the whole with all the hoopla. I thought that was really good at the beginning. I liked that whole segment and the way they set it up and the little exchange they had with the counters and going for the ankle lock and the crossface, and I just thought that was really well done, and the way he, and he finally got the big pop for the crossface too. I guess.
Yeah, and they finally got that crossface over.
Yeah, they got to move over now. So it's
yeah,
like,
that was really well done, really smart. I thought so too. Really smart.
Yeah, and it's good because it'll set up. That's why I mean they didn't say anything about that being a submission match, right? They just implied that those are the key moves in the match anyway. So
yeah, they didn't. Maybe they'll say it tonight, or maybe it's not. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, because that's what I guess. The way they did it, I guess Angle's probably going to go over in the match anyway. I would assume, but like I said, maybe they'll do the thing where Benoit passes out, and
I think Benoit might.
Strong.
There's a lot of ways to do it. I think Benoit might go over. I don't know.
You think he will? Actually, either way is fine with me. I expect it to be the best match.
I think he might because they're trying to make him. I think he might this time. Yeah.
Well, that'd be good too. I'm just looking forward to that match actually more than any other matches. I just think it's going to be that good. And also too, again, we talked about it the other time with Triple H and Undertaker. Yeah, again, he got the best of him, but I mean, I guess the only time left for Taker to get the best of him would be SmackDown. Either that Hunter's just that smart, he's going to always get the best of him and still get the win.
Best of everyone.
They can't put Undertaker over.
I hope not.
No, that'd be really dumb to put Undertaker over.
And then even Kane, got Kane attacks him, and what did he do? He low-blowed Kane and made Kane look stupid, and Hunter comes out of everything looking like $1 million.
I know.
That's why, I don't know. All right, that's about it.
Okay, no more time for any more calls, Al? Okay, Mark, one quick question.
Yeah, I'm talking for all the disenfranchised wrestling fans who stopped watching about a year ago because we were insulting our intelligence. But I want to tell you, the 15 minutes of the first hour was to me, and I've been watching wrestling since I'm 40 plus, and I've been watching since I was 8 years old, was probably the greatest television wrestling 15 minutes that I've ever seen. The concept of having it on two networks at the same time, McMahon turning the audience at the last second, getting his revenge on Ted Turner, saying he's going to come down at WrestleMania and beg him to sign the contract. That was a great
line.
Pardon?
Especially because it wasn't going to happen. That was so great.
I thought that was great. I said, how is he going to get him to do this? He's not going to do this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like in no way in a million years is Ted Turner going to WrestleMania, and I thought that. But what a great line. Yeah, what a great line that was, though. But it's Vince's. That was at least we got to see Vince's fantasy. Vince's fantasy is Ted bringing the contract to him. He didn't get it, but
it came really
that's what he wanted.
I just think he was so great. It was so entertaining. It was so well designed. It did not insult for the first time in a couple of years. I was not insulted watching it. I was engrossed, and it was just both technically and corporately and contractually just phenomenal. And also the wrestling law concept of he who signs the contract is the one that owns the thing, even though he had nothing to do with setting up the contract, is also, a far-fetched concept, but I accept it in the world of wrestling.
They've been doing that. They've been doing that one in wrestling. Those swerving people into contracts. Well, you didn't read the contract thing.
Right.
For
the first time someone signed it owns something real. It was such a bizarre mix of reality and wrestling reality.
Well, the whole show was because I think he was firing people for real, but we don't know.
No, I think the whole thing was to get the crowd up that he was going to keep them around. But then his punchline is, "No, if they were right here, I'd fire them all." And then he gives Shane the whole place, so nobody's getting fired, or at least most of the important ones aren't. I just thought it was great. And again, I've pretty much stopped watching wrestling, but when I was flipping through and I saw him on Turner, then I stopped and said, this is something to see, because this is never going to be, this event, this basically was a wrestling event program, will never happen again.
No, this was a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and that was pretty much it. We are totally out of time. I want to apologize for not getting to everyone else's calls. We will be back tomorrow at 5.
IATA now has 13 shows. 10 are extremely professional entertainment, gossip, sports, fitness, and sex advice programs. The other 3 are really fucked up comedy shows. Check them out. Uncensored. Only on IATA Sex and Comedy.
Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
This is Dave Meltzer, host of Wrestling Observer Live here on IATA.com, and coming Sunday, April the 1st at midnight, join my colleague Brian Alvarez and myself as we host a WrestleMania 17 wrap-up show. We'll go in-depth and give you the inside information on what happened at WrestleMania 17, as well as our views and thoughts on the show. We'll, of course, take your emails and phone calls with your opinions and thoughts on the program as well. So join Brian Alvarez and myself, Dave Meltzer, Sunday, April 1st, immediately following the program on pay-per-view as we go above and beyond to dissect and critique WrestleMania 17, headlined by Stone Cold Steve Austin against The Rock for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. And the only place you can listen to it is here on IATA.com, talk radio for the Internet.
And shut your mouth.
Ever get really sick and just not know how you're going to get over it? So did gold medal skater Scott Hamilton.
When I got cancer, I had no idea whether it was going to be terminal or if it was going to be really painful.
At the website TeenCentral.net, you can hear how Scott Hamilton and other athletes and musicians worked out their tough times. TeenCentral.net. Log on, work it out. Created by KidsPeace and teens like you.
Attention inventors. Inventec. Have a great idea or invention? Then you need Inventec, the launchpad for new ideas. Inventec understands the needs of inventors like you, and only Inventec offers a free patent classification search. It's the first step you need to take to success. Call 1-800-470-6868. Act now, and with your search report, receive a free video and all the materials necessary to get you on your way. Be first to the marketplace while your idea is still hot. Using state-of-the-art technology and our worldwide experience, Inventec